envision SuperYou to become this super cool D2C brand?
When we launched the wafer, a lot of times we were stocked out.
Thank you all for the overwhelming response to the protein wafer bars. We are currently out of stock.
Now the internet thought that this was some genius marketing strategy. And I was like, okay, great. Let's call it strategy.
This is a nice narrative.
So next to Ranveer's office, it was always stocking out. And once he called me and said, listen, what's going on? Is this all a smoke screen? Like, are we doing this as a strategy or is it just selling like hotcakes?
What is your ambition with SuperYou? What do you see it becoming?
Ambition, like at a company level, we want to be north of 1,000 crores.
Came across this interesting problem that you encountered where the delivery partners were eating your bars.
You just don't know what to expect in business. Such strange problems will come up.
You also play paddle with Nikhil, Kamath. So I want to ask, who's a better player?
He's an investor.
If you had to bet your money.
No, I'm not betting money against Nikhil Kamath.
Have you watched Dhurandar?
We were chatting with him once. Like, do you think you'll ever do something that can be as demanding as Khilji? And he was like, Nikunj, this character has been way more challenging for me. And obviously, when you hear it, you don't understand it. But when you see it, you're like, dude, what was this?
So are there perks of working with somebody like Ranveer Singh, and are there roadblocks? Do you guys have the power to veto each other's decision in this relationship?
Yes.
Have you used it? Hi Nikunj, welcome to Men's XP.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I think I'll give people context because I don't want to come across as somebody who couldn't give the introduction right. So we were already in conversation, and to have to break the flow to do this properly, I think it just is a little funny. But since we've already chatted about it, and I don't want to bore you with questions about where you started and how SuperYou came into existence and everything. When I was researching about you and when the opportunity to sit with you came about, I was generally personally curious to know the kind of a person that you are, right? Because you've put yourself out there, but in a very limited capacity, which creates a lot of intrigue. It creates a lot of curiosity around you that, okay, this is this person. We know he plays paddle. We know he's building something very super cool, called SuperYou. And, he comes from a legacy business, retail business family. But let's double click more into who he is as a person. So, if I have to ask you something, maybe I'll start with, how your childhood was. Like, how were you as a kid?
Yeah.
And what interests did you have?
Yeah, sure. I've not planned to be this secretive person or anything like that. I'm just a little shy, so I tend to put myself out there because I think it'll help SuperYou. But besides that, I have no other intention. But childhood has primarily been born and brought up in Bombay.
Okay.
Marwadi, big joint family. So many cousins and one real sister as well, older. Very naughty kid. So schooling was in Bombay. The only thing I've ever loved is sports. And any sport. So cricket was obviously everyone's first love if you were born in the 90s. And since then, like lawn tennis is something that I'd picked up, almost pursued it professionally, but it didn't happen because my parents back then said it may not be the best opportunity from a career perspective. But so for me, school was just to go and mark attendance and then come back quickly and then go down immediately and then play cricket, or like I'd play something for like 4 hours a day at least. And then, like I said, I was training, etc. Very naughty in school. But I like to believe there are two kinds of naughty kids. So one destructive and one playful. I was more the playful, I like to believe.
Self-proclaimed.
Yeah, so not so destructive in the sense that it wasn't the getting into fights and things like that. I just always had some masti. Like, I wanted to do some kida, for the lack of a better word, here and there. That landed me in a lot of trouble in school. One thing I'm infamous for amongst my friends and family is I've broken a lot of bones in my body. So my right hand, I used to be a goalkeeper. So I fractured my right hand about 4 times.
Ouch.
I've gotten crazy stitches on my right eyebrow and left eyebrow.
Yes, I can.
I've broken my legs. I've broken my left hand. I've broken my teeth. So there was a joke in school where the nurse used to be like, Nikunj, just come, it's okay. And my doctor used to be like, he used to tell my mom saying, listen, you don't worry. I know what he's going to come with and I know how to deal with it. So yeah, a lot of injuries. And then the rest of it was pretty standard. I went to London for 3 years to do a BSc in management. I was at King's. Exposure there was amazing. And then came back and then was family business. So ever since then was just work and so-called adult life began.
So was it easy adjusting when you came back after 3 years from London? Because a lot of my friends actually who go abroad and who come back, I think they spend a year just talking and reminiscing about their life, either in Melbourne or London or wherever they are. And nostalgia takes 1 year. And then the second year is the journey to, sort of reacclimatize yourself to where you're going to be.
Yeah, so that happened with a lot of my friends as well. But I don't think it was so much for me because even before going, I knew I was going to come back.
So you were certain?
Yeah. So I always knew I wanted to come back. I never had this thing of like, oh, I want to stay out for many, many years. Nothing like that. So I knew I was going to come back. When I came back, obviously it takes you a few months to just like, get used to a certain way of living that you were not used to. But I think at least for me personally, I settled in very quickly, got into the flow of things, jumped straight into work. So I landed on a particular day in June sometime from London, and that was on a Friday. And on Monday, I was in the office.
Wow, that was
so
quick.
I knew that I wanted to jump into things because otherwise, then I think you take time to adjust. And
fair enough,
so on and so forth.
If your trajectory is sorted or if you know where you want to head, I think then it's easier.
Yeah.
So when you came back, you joined where?
So family business was Future Group,
right?
Which was primarily retail. And at that point, when I'd come back, I had started working and training rather in the stores, because even growing up, in all my breaks when I was in London, when we used to come back, I used to do internships within the office. And internships, I used to go spend time and just listen,
and learn and
observe, and things like that, which was very, very lucky because you actually get to, if you're sitting in the right rooms, you get to learn and listen a lot.
Yeah.
So when I came back, I actually spent 6 months or so working in Big Bazaar stores and doing everything from selling, which even till now I'd say is the best experience, the most fun I've had. So selling on the shop floor, and then all other store operations to understand just the nitty-gritties. And then I did this across a few stores within Bombay, and then a few days in Delhi and elsewhere. So that was really, really exciting. And I think that's why I got into it. The only not so exciting part about that was that in stores you also had to spend a lot of Sundays there. Because Sundays was peak traffic.
Yeah.
But Sundays was also, and Saturdays was also when, you'd want to go out with friends and stuff like that. But that was okay. Small price to pay.
And looking at you would want to play with them and, still keep the sportsman in you alive.
Yeah. But then, at that point I was 21. So I could play 5 days a week without complaining. Now I'm 33. So now I complain a little bit and I take some time to recover. Etc.
What's your average now? In a week, how often do you go out to play with your friends?
So pre-starting SuperYou, I'd say that was still 2 to 3, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
Post SuperYou, it's become a little bit less. So I'd say 1 to 2 max, 2 max, just because been a little bit more caught up now. But yeah, I have phases. So I had this phase in the middle when I was doing HYROX. So for training, I was training like rigorously every single day, 6 days a week. So I wasn't playing a sport, but I was, call HYROX whatever you want. So I was super into that. And then sometimes I get like very into pickle, and then I'll have these 2 weeks where I think I need to be better than someone I'm playing with. And then for 2 weeks, I'll play like 5 times a week and practice just so that I get to that level so that I can beat them. And then I'll start playing once or twice a week. So I have some phases.
This thing I picked up from one of your interviews only when I was looking you up, that it did seem like you have this, competitive edge. And a lot of sportsmen do. and which is something that I find extremely beautiful, right? Because I just feel like a lot of times people term competitiveness as something negative, but I think it helps you bring out the best version of yourself. And Michael Jordan has spoken about it at length, because he would accept a challenge from somebody who's not even challenging him, just to fuel that fire within him and be like that, did you say something and you think I can't make it, I can make it. And I think that that must have lent into your your own founder persona.
I hope not.
No?
Because I'll tell you why. Because I think, sport has this ability of capturing a person in the moment, right? And then in the moment, anything can happen.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes that extra competitiveness, I would at least, and my friends will agree to this, I think I would overdo it a little bit. Where even for a game of cards at home, you're kind of creating a whole mess and everyone's losing it, even with the family, and it kind of goes a little bit overboard, but it's a thing. It's just, it happens. But now I've kind of found a version of it where you're not, going crazy about it, but you still are as competitive. So you want to win. But for me now that's flipped. So it's, okay, if someone's better than me, I'm not going crazy on the court. But then I will come back and I'll watch 10 YouTube videos of why, for example, my forehand is not the best and who's the best forehand player and can my forehand be that good? And I'll obsessively just go after it again and again and again. But, I don't let it show on the court per se. There's obviously still a little bit of yelling and all that because that's part of the sport. But yeah, a little bit more controlled. And I think that's important to founder persona because building a business is a long game, right? It's not a one-day kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a slow burn.
Being too reactive doesn't help.
Yeah.
And actually, now that you've touched this topic, I'm gonna give you this interesting anecdote here. Have you seen this movie called Rush?
Yes.
Okay. So there's this. It's such a beautiful story about how there's two people who are fiercely competitive, the exact opposite of each other. Neither are really right or wrong.
Yeah.
They're just, what they're doing is just what they're doing in their own ways. But the interesting thing there is that they both figured that they don't need to like each other. They just need to respect each other.
Yeah.
Because they both have certain skills and a certain amount of talent that needs to be respected. And ever since I've thought of being competitive from that perspective, there's a slight change in how I look at it from the business perspective. With my friends, I still go crazy, but yeah, from this, it's a little bit more controlled.
That's actually a very evolved perspective because the line is so thin, right, that you could be on either side. Like if you let the enthusiasm get to you, then, you could easily traverse to the other side. But I think looking at it like this is quite interesting.
Yeah.
That wasn't my takeaway when I saw Rush, but I think... it's interesting.
But now when you reflect on it and if you see the movie again, you'll realize that was the big takeaway for me.
Yeah. And that makes sense actually. Yeah. Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
I think all those old adages that our parents, kept telling us when we were growing up and we were rebelling against everything that they say, they have just come to be so true these days. But, while we were talking about your competitive spirit, I've seen your posts and, you also play paddle with Nikhil Kamath. So I want to ask, who's a better player? Who will win a game between you and him?
He's an investor. So I've not played so much with him, and I don't play that much paddle actually. So football is still my go-to. But we played one game, 2 separate days, and one day it's gonna sound like I'm being politically correct and all, but one day I was the better player. And the other day he was the better player.
Yeah, you are being politically correct.
That's because I had a really bad day. No, but he's good. I'm joking. He's very good.
And you're better.
Yeah,
if you had to
I'm
bet
there.
your money, it's okay. I mean,
If I had to put money.
Yeah, if you had to bet your money.
No, I'm not betting money against Nikhil Kamath. There is no amount of money that I can bet against him.
Okay, fair enough. You've also been on the court with Ranveer Singh. So who's a better player there?
You're asking me about people who I... Okay, so politically correct answer. I'm more agile on the ball, basketball, and I can dribble well. Ranveer is a very good 3-point shooter, and he's really strong, so he can just muscle his way through. So it's very hard to defend him. Yeah, that's the politically correct answer. But we have really, really fierce, intense games on the court. Like I don't think we realize that it's a friendly game. And it becomes very intense.
So, do these emotions, do you guys carry them forward for at least a
not
little
at all.
while after the game is over?
Not at all. That's the beauty. And again, I think now that, I like to believe we're all a little bit grown up and mature, and so I think everyone has this understanding now that what happens on the court stays on the court, and the other rule that once the whistle blows, you forget all of that.
Yeah.
So you know that it's all happening with the right spirit and the right intent. There's no malicious intent, right?
Yeah.
And if that's not the case, then no one really gets too worked up about it. In fact, it's a lot of fun because after the game, for a long time, we used to have this phase where, on groups, there was so much banter. Everyone would make fun of everyone, not just Ranveer or not just me, but like this group of 10, 12 people. And everyone would take a dig at everyone. So it used to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think for men, the real love language is also roasting. So I think it's
And this
part
was
of
men
it.
and women, by the way.
Oh, wow. That's lovely.
We used to play mixed. And it used to be amazing. We'd make fun of everyone.
I think that adds to the charm of it. What would you say working with Big Bazaar or the Future Group or Kishore Biyani for that matter helped you with? Like if you had to give me certain takeaways that you borrowed and then applied into building your own brand, what would they be?
So first answer is a lot. Like everything I've learned about business, India as a country, its consumers, has come from my experience of working at the group. Been very, very lucky because the group is something that operated at a pan-India level. So it had the perspective of full India and not just a narrow lens of a Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore limited perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that changes a lot. And the second thing is we were also very lucky because it was a very data-rich company. So it wasn't just the power of observation. It was also backing all of that with really, really strong data.
Yeah.
And I think that shaped a lot of my early thinking on business, on consumer, on everything. And, when you said like, how is working with Future Group kind of helped? I think one amazing thing was I got the opportunity to work with some of the best minds, on a very large canvas.
Yeah.
So the opportunity was just that much more exciting. We did so many things. So for perspective, when we were building Future Consumer, which was the FMCG arm of Future Group, in the packaged food business, we pretty much operated in every single category. So whether that was biscuits, noodles, juices, tea, coffee, milk, bread, literally name it, and we operated within it. Now because of that, I got to interact and work with a lot of our manufacturing partners were large FMCG companies. So for example, our biscuits manufacturer was Cremica.
Nice.
We worked with Del Monte on sauces and dips and stuff like that. We work with some of the best manufacturers like Schreiber Dynamics for juices. We did a joint venture with multiple companies. There's this one company from the US. We did a joint venture and launched a brand called Terra here in India. We did a very, very large JV with a company called Fonterra, which is from New Zealand. And they are like the 4th, 5th, 6th largest dairy company in the world. And we did a JV with them in India and launched a dairy brand here. So I think working with such diverse sets of people on such a large canvas was probably the best learning opportunity. And being able to do that for a long time also. So I think the group in itself just had these amazing opportunities that, again, me and a few of us in the family just had the privilege of being able to capture. That's on the group. In terms of like working with my uncle, so I would say it's not like a direct working relationship. So for the longest time in Future Group, we were working very closely just within Future Consumer. And then we would be exposed to the higher level strategic stuff through him.
Right.
But that was not as frequent, right? So the nitty gritty, the day to day was still happening with a lot of professionals and great professionals that I could learn a lot from. But I think with him, you start learning a lot beyond just the basics of business. So it's this very like spiritual, philosophical level stuff on how to approach certain things. And not just specifically that, you know, gross margin aise karte hain and EBITDA aise kamate hain.
Not so analytical.
Not just that. That was also there, but with him it was a couple of levels above that, I'd say. So I'll give you some anecdotes, right? And by the way, if I start and if you don't stop me, we could go on for a couple of days about this stuff.
I don't mind. At least for ours, the batteries are set.
Yeah. No, so like one is just what he calls the power of observation. So this one time when I'd come back from London, I thought I was going to do like this finance course with this hedge fund manager in LA.
Okay.
And I thought I was taking initiative because it was going to be the summer school. And I was like, oh my God, I applied, I got in. And I was very excited. And I went and told him one day and he said, what's the big deal? Go stand on the road, keep your eyes and ears open. You'll learn more than any of these 2-month summer courses will teach you. In the moment, I just was flabbergasted. I was like, "Malab, aap kya bol rahe ho? Kuch samajh mein nahi aaya." But I think when you do understand it, when you reflect on it, the idea that, you know, like these fancy courses are these fancy courses, and I'm sure they have their own place in the world. But the idea that you can just be on ground and just observe at like everything that's happening, and observe doesn't mean just stare at things, but engage with people, have conversations, talk to different kind of people, talk to people from different industries. I think those kind of things teach you more than any book, any course, any YouTube video, any podcast can teach you.
Fair.
So when you start doing that, you learn so much, and I think I got that. So that at a philosophical level just shaped how we approach learning in itself.
Yeah.
And then there are many such instances. But yeah.
Has there been one in particular that you find yourself going back to in moments of, say, confusion, or where you need clarity but you're sort of stuck?
I do that a lot with him. So even right now, he's my mentor on building SuperYou. And again, there are so many examples. I'm thinking like, what's a good one to give? You know, there's this one where when you hear a lot of people talk on the internet about some stuff, we were briefly talking about this before we started. I used to get extremely worked up and, you know, like just go crazy with these things. And then he told me this thing. He was like, अच्छा और बुरा बात की बात है, बात होनी चाहिए. And then again, in the moment, it doesn't hit.
Yes.
But then when you go back, you realize that, look, you can't take all of this social media stuff so seriously. It's okay. It's time pass. You're someone's entertainment for a day.
Yeah.
And then everyone moves on. And it's not new to me. It's like, it's just the DNA of that media.
Yeah.
So you kind of like learn. But on the business front, there's been a lot. So for example, he has this specific view on, like, let's say when we wanted to get into making the first film for our brand launch, my idea was, you know, viral karna hai, and viral ke liye you need to do something funny. So the best thing to do is let's hire Tanmay Bhatt and tell him to write something and it'll be hilarious, and that's that, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, there was this zooming out and this understanding that, look, you're trying to build a brand here. It's not about one video and one joke.
Yeah.
What needs to register is beyond that. There needs to be something about the product, something about the brand. And he kind of helped zoom out and say that one important aspect, no matter what else that happens in the video, is okay. One important aspect is you have to show Ranveer eating the bar and having a good time, like enjoying and smiling and enjoying the bar, right? And that there's this thing called neuro-linguistic programming, where again, nothing new. Legacy brands like the Cokes and, you know, everyone has been doing this forever. So for example, Coca-Cola will always show you that, oh, dhoop hai,
And the
now's the
fizz
time, and then that
yes.
sound,
Yeah.
and that sound is NLP.
Yeah.
So every time you open it, you feel like you're already hydrated.
Yes.
You feel
agreed.
like,
Yeah.
wow.
And then the gulping sound as well. a lot
Exactly.
of times.
So all of those things are NLP, and there's multiple examples like this. So that visual, that key visual was very, very important to add into it. And then the other thing was that, SuperYou is a brand that connotes energy.
Yeah.
So everything we do has to be energetic, and that's the tie-in with Ranveer's persona as well,
Yeah.
right? So you'd never have someone sitting down and talking in a boring way about the brand.
Yeah.
Whether that's a small performance marketing ad, whether that's a static image or a larger video.
Yeah.
It had to have a certain energy. So you had to talk about the brand in a certain way. The key visuals would have to come out. The colors had to come out in a certain way. So I think a lot of things, everything from the mindset bit to also the business edition. There's been a lot of inputs. A lot of inputs.
Wow. And, inputs and exposure, I think both of them,
Yeah.
whether working with the future group or with him, I think the kind of exposure that you've had or the range
Yeah.
that, you've been exposed to, I think everything eventually trickles down
Yeah.
into helping you build whatever you build.
So even for example, like, let's say a non-direct business example, when you're raising money, and this is the first proper entrepreneurial venture that I've had, where I'm solely responsible for anything and everything that happens within the
Right.
business, right? And I didn't know how to approach this in the most optimal way, let's call it. And I was losing my head over it. So I did have a tough time navigating this whole thing of raising money. But I think I learned a lot from him on how to deal with this cohort of stakeholders in the business, which is investors. I have this, and I've said this publicly, so I have no shame in admitting it. I have this problem of trying to be the nice guy. And that does not help a lot when you're negotiating. So in my personal life, I'm okay with it because I'm like, it works for me. It's fine. But I've realized that as an entrepreneur, you don't have that luxury.
True.
So if in a certain room, you have to be in a certain way because you're doing everything that's in the best interest of the company, not in your self-best interest.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be able to wear different hats. And he kind of pointed this out to me and like, again, that's something that stuck with me.
Yeah.
So now I know that, okay, in different rooms, you have to be able to speak differently. Doesn't mean you're becoming a different person,
Yeah.
but just you have to be a little calibrated.
Yeah. I know, I can only imagine how important that is because, so I have struggled with this thing called people pleasing all my life, right? And then I realized that when it sort of, intersects with my profession, it ends up making me feel not really great about what I'm doing or what I've said yes to. And then I realized that I could have a different side to me and different situations could bring
Yeah.
a different side to me, and that is not me being not true to myself.
Yeah.
So I think I've also had a bit of a journey, so I can
Interesting.
relate to you on some level there. But I was actually going through your LinkedIn and I realized that you worked on something called Panchamrit when, I think it was before when you started
Yeah.
SuperYou. And it was so fascinating for me because that was a journey that you've made from, being, for the product to be a Shilajit to, these protein wafers. So did that also teach you a couple of things when you entered this line?
Yeah, so that's a longish story, but I'll keep it crisp.
Okay, yeah.
Think of me like as an interim manager on that front.
Okay.
The brand actually existed. We had an investment through the separate vehicle, and like I said, I'll keep the boring stuff out. But what it did allow me to do is I got a lot of exposure to the digital world. So, FCL was built in the physical retail
Yes.
world predominantly.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think by like 2018, 2019, the D2C wave had really started coming into India, right? Like brands were picking up and everyone was taking notice.
Yeah. It was on the rise.
Correct. But at that point, I didn't even understand things like performance marketing, SEO, CAC, LTV, all these silly terms. So I think through the Panchamrit experience, I got a lot of exposure to that. How do you build digitally? What do you mean by content? What do you mean by 3-second hook? Retention rates? And all of those things. So I think that was a very interesting learning. And obviously, because that brand operated in the nutraceutical space, I learned a lot about the nutraceutical industry, which helped me get some advantage because protein loosely is also in that industry, right? Like it has one foot in both, in a sense. So got to meet a lot of manufacturers, learn a lot about formulations and all of those things. So in a nutshell, did learn a lot.
Interesting. And like since we're here and we're talking to you about SuperYou, and this is a personal doubt actually. So when I was looking through the product range, now it came to me like SuperYou. I remember my interns were going nuts over it. Okay, and I was telling these people also before we started shooting that on shoot days it's a long 8 to 10 hour shoot day, right? So they have a little budget in which they can order food for themselves. Now SuperYou had just, launched on quick commerce as well, and they were going crazy. They listen, today we're going to try all of this, and I think they ordered a bunch of flavors and everything, and I got very enticed looking at the packaging in general. So I also had it, and that started, and then of course I got introduced to the protein, and then the range kept going on and on and on. But when we talk about protein in general, see, there's whey, there's plant, and then there's yeast. I would like to understand from you, and maybe you could explain this to me with backing it with science or something. What is the USP or the need to have a yeast-based protein in the first place? Because people have spoken a lot about whey protein, right? I mean, anybody who's not even taking whey protein knows what it is. Plant-based like pea or whatever, it's still a little, like people have still talked about it, but yeast, I feel like people are talking about consuming it, but do they really know the benefits that come with it beyond gut health?
Yeah. Okay, so again, this is a long question.
So sorry about
Look, I think, no, what I mean is the answer can be long, not the question. I think the way to think of this is protein is important. We've woken up and understood that we are protein deficient. Sixth standard science says protein is the building block of life. So consume enough protein, right? We're not, at least as a brand and my personal philosophy, we've never said, itna protein khao, nahi to aap mar jaoge aur aapke baal kharab ho jayenge and your skin will be like this and like that. Because we don't want to go down that path. We're actually on the opposite end saying, look, if protein could just be in the foods that you already enjoy eating, then they're better off than whatever other things you were eating. Because you anyway need to get a certain amount. Now, when it comes to whey, plant and yeast, actually there's many other sources of protein. And for example, sattu is a source of protein. You could call it a plant or whatever, but plant based, but that's a source of protein. Within milk, there's casein, which is actually a little bit different from whey. That's another source of protein. And then you have all these other sources of protein. So there's many, but the ones that get the most talked about in the supplement form, you're right, are whey, plant and now yeast. Whey, plant, yeast, in my opinion, all great sources. I don't want to go out there and say this is bad and this is good and yeast is the best and just because SuperYou is doing it and stuff. There's nothing like that. Whey is a great source of protein. It's complete, tastes good. Today it's a little expensive, so it has its own drawbacks as well. Whey comes with a certain amount of lactose. That does not suit certain people and hence may not suit everyone, right? But it's a great source of protein. Plant protein came as a result of that, saying, okay, lactose does not, I can't have dairy related products, so I want some other source. Now, plant protein is definitely lighter in a sense because it does not have lactose, so it's easier to digest. It's way more affordable. But it has its own challenges, which is that it does not taste the best. It's a little grainy and so on and so forth. And you need to mix it. So you need to combine different sources because independently they don't have all the complete amino acid profile, which makes it not the highest quality of protein, right? So that's why people mix pea protein with brown rice, with quinoa, so that the mix of amino acids is complete. So that has its own strengths and its own drawbacks. And then yeast for us was a very, very exciting new technology in the world of biofermentation. And more than anything else, it just kind of had a little bit of the best of both. So benefits of yeast protein, yeast-based protein, is that it is completely plant-based. So it's vegan, not plant-based, sorry. It's vegan. It's very, very light on the tummy. It feels like having water. And that's why we say it's extremely gut-friendly. It's not as smooth and milky as whey, because whey also has a slightly higher fat percentage. So it has a very good mouth feel. So yeast does not have the same, like if whey is a 10 on 10, I'd say yeast is a 8. And plant is probably a 6, right? Or even lower in some cases. And yeast is a complete amino acid profile. So you don't need to mix it, you don't need to do anything.
In itself, it's complete.
Yeah. And lastly, it's affordable and it's consistent. So whey fluctuates a lot. So it can be very, very difficult for a brand and for consumers because they have to pay that much more. And there's one small other benefit for yeast, which is why it's getting very, very popular in the West, which is that it's the most sustainable form of production. So producing yeast-based protein consumes, I think it's 1/10 the amount of land mass, 1/10 the amount of water, 1/100th less water as compared to whey or any animal-based protein, and almost like 1/20th the carbon emissions, something like that. So it's incredibly strong because of that. And in the West, it's picking up a lot because of it being the most sustainable protein out there. But yeah, in a nutshell, all great sources, consumers now have options, which is great as a consumer, and you can decide what works for you. So that's one of the biggest reasons why SuperYou launched yeast protein first, because whey protein would have arguably been way easier for us to launch and to sell, because we don't have to educate consumers and do all of those things. So it would have been much easier. But we just found it so much more exciting to bring this whole new technology to India, and a product that is ticking a lot of boxes. It's the best of whey and plant to a large extent. And yeah, that's why we took the bet on yeast protein.
Fair enough.
But we're not against whey or anything.
Yes, we'll make sure not to cut that line out.
Yeah.
But what makes me a little curious is that, for yeast to have been vegan, for it to be sustainable, even in production, was there something you were actively looking for? Is that part of the ethos of SuperYou? Or it just happened to be something that you were fascinated by in general, that you were curious about, and also it had these XYZ qualities, which added to the fun?
Yeah. So, when we started FCL, we called ourselves FMCG 2.0. And we defined it as for the fast-moving consumer generation. And the idea was that legacy companies don't innovate on product as fast. So new age companies have that advantage. Because against the legacy company, you can't compete with them on distribution. Right. You can't compete with them on cost. You can't compete with them on team, etc. So what can you do? You can bring new product to a new audience who's looking for these products. Because of social media and stuff, exposure so much more, right?
Yes.
Products that are selling in the US, in Vietnam, everywhere in China, right? Yeah. And why not have access to those kind of products even in India? Yeah. So I think since then I've had this thing stuck in my head that whatever we do, there has to be some innovation, something that we've done, that we've pushed the boundary on, and bringing that to India. It will be slightly harder, but then the customer rewards you also that much. So let's say the first product, arguably again much easier for us to do a standard protein bar, and just say we have Ranveer Singh ad chalate and kind of win on that, right? But we push to find this triangle of sorts where you could solve for taste, format being innovative. Nobody had seen a protein wafer in a light crunchy format, and being affordable, right? And I think it took us very long to do that. We had made 4 to 5 other bars before this.
Okay.
So we had many, but just didn't have the same conviction on it. And then we realized that, okay, when we spent enough time, we realized this was the most exciting product that was coming out, the most innovative, solving for taste, functionality, price, all of those things.
Yeah.
And that's why we did that. Same logic applied to doing yeast protein as well. So it is a core philosophy at SuperYou. Obviously, as the business scales, we have to balance both.
Right.
You can't just keep trying to do everything new. Within the portfolio, within the consumers have certain demands as well, and you've got to be able to service that. So we'll continue to do new, fun, exciting stuff because that's the brand proposition, but in our own ways.
Did you envision SuperYou to become this super cool D2C brand like when you started? And I'm sure you must have nerves before launching it, and you would have been working on it for years or months at end. But did you envision it to become this little, pop culture thing that it has right now?
I'm happy to hear that it has become that. To be honest, and I'm not trying to sound modest, I promise you, but we're just so glued in that I guess from the outside perspective, you may see it like that. From the inside perspective, I'm thinking inventory is a mess, supply chain can be better, cost needs to come down. We're so glued into that stuff, so I'm not seeing it from that POV. But no, we didn't plan for it. No, we didn't plan for it.
Did you have a hunch?
Didn't have that aspiration.
Intuition?
Again, very honestly, no. I think the good thing was we didn't spend so much time thinking about it. We spent a lot of time thinking about brand, what we wanted to be, the design language, the product, the way I want to build my team. Spend disproportionate amount of time in all those things. Because there's one fundamental belief that, focus on input, output is anyway not in your control. So if you are just doing the things that you believe are important for you to build your business, that's all you are anyway in control of.
Yeah.
So I'll give you one fun story here, right? When we launched the wafer, very lean team, and obviously, we're learning as we're going.
Yeah.
So we started working with the manufacturer, and we're in that relationship building phase with them, right? First production and all of that. Our demand forecasting was completely off.
Okay.
And what happened was that the product, Touchwood, was selling off better than we were being able to supply. And a lot of people thought back then, and by the way, there's also a part of this where on quick commerce, when we went live, a lot of logistics at that point was just chaos. So we were learning, okay, how do you supply on time, small quantities, blah, blah, blah. All the boring stuff. And we weren't great at it. And as a matter of fact, because of that, a lot of times we were stocked out. Now the internet thought that this was some genius marketing strategy.
Yes.
That
I was one of those people.
What's it called? It's called something, na? For
Creating
luxury,
a hype.
yeah, for luxury goods, people do this, right?
Yes.
It's just slipping my mind. But a lot of people thought we were
exclusive,
doing
limited.
this. Yeah.
Something along those lines. But yes, limited edition or whatever.
Correct. So a lot of people thought we were doing this as a strategy. And then when I started reading that, I was like, okay, great. Let's call it strategy.
This is a nice narrative.
Yeah, but honestly, it was just chaos. There was no strategy of this. In fact, we realized there was this one time, so next to Ranveer's office and the building, it was always stocking out. And once he called me and said, listen, what's going on? Is this all a smoke screen? Are we doing this as a strategy or is it just selling like hotcakes? And I was like, look, honest to God, it's selling really well. So we should be happy. But also we've got a lot to fix at the back end.
Right.
We have to be able to supply better, etc., etc. And then that's when we were like, okay, this was no strategy. So I don't think we planned to become culturally relevant or anything like that. We focused on brand, on who our consumer is, looking the right way, saying the right things, etc., etc. And then luckily for us, we became relevant.
Yeah. Relevant and how? But I'm happy to know that it wasn't a strategy, because a couple of times I tried ordering and it would always show like sold out or stocked out. And I'm like, what is happening? How can this happen every single day? It's been 3 days. But quite interesting. And while we're on the subject of quick commerce, your 20-gram mega wafer was the first exclusive launch.
Yeah.
Right. So what is the decision-making framework that goes into it? Like, we don't know anything about how to get a product on quick commerce apps, right? And what is the nature of the beast when you sort of delve into that?
Yeah, quick commerce is a beast.
Yeah.
But it's also the reason why SuperYou is what it is. Without quick commerce, there's no chance. So why we did the exclusive, just like strategically multiple things. We go and discuss product and launches, especially with all our channel partners. Instamart at that point had like specific ideas on how they thought they could make this bigger than ever. And there was a lot of ideas and a lot of the thinking kind of aligned. And we thought, okay, we'll take that bet.
Right.
And it was going to be for 30 days. So it seemed like an exciting one to do. No other specific reason, to be honest.
Okay.
And we've explored doing some of this stuff before. We had not done it. So we also thought, let's learn, let's see what happens. How does it help you, let's say, negotiating with a certain channel or pushing business in one particular channel and then seeing how much you can grow that there. So it was a learning decision for us that let's try it once. We've never done it before and let's see what happens. So I think it mostly came from that. But yeah, quick commerce in itself is a beast. I think every young brand today is constantly thinking, I just need to get onto quick commerce. Which, yes, but you need to understand that quick commerce is a distribution channel. So it will get your product to consumer, but it's a channel that requires very strong pull. So if you don't have pull, it will bleed you dry. It can be a channel that just sucks in all the money from a young brand and does not give you good returns for it. So it's you have to go in knowing that. So you have to focus a lot on brand and organic demand creation.
Fair enough. It makes me wonder that as a founder, and I'm just, thinking about it because you've been talking about it a lot. As a founder, what terrifies you the most?
Again, this could be a list. So I'll tell you something interesting. I think I'm a little bit paranoid as a person. And I always thought that that's a negative thing. Until I was passing by the Zomato office one day. And like big bold at their reception in the main HO in Gurgaon, it says only the paranoid survive. Right? And I think Deepinder Goyal has said this in his book and multiple other places. And ever since I read that, I was like, okay, maybe it's not a bad thing to be a little paranoid. So to answer your question, as a founder, I'm paranoid about a lot of things. I still think that, okay, business is good today, but what happens tomorrow? Like I'll see one negative review and I'll be like, oh my God, this product is gonna flop completely tomorrow. We're finished. We need to do something, and I'll have a moment. But I think I've also now, again, after spending some time, I've learned to kind of just be a little patient about that and not flip over everything. I have a lot of things that I get paranoid about, but I think, or I'd like to believe that I'm able to channel that a bit better. So I'm paranoid about people because I know that there's competition there that's constantly looking to poach. I'm paranoid about will something happen to production. There's so much to be worried about today, right? Costs have gone up. Supply is unpredictable. We had a big challenge this month with our bars. For 7 to 10 days, both our manufacturers could not take production.
Damn.
And we were just sitting in office counting stars. वो तो stars भी नहीं दिख रहे थे बॉम्बे में anyway. But literally, so I would say there's a lot of things, but I've just learned to be a little bit patient about these things as well now.
Somebody recently told me, and he's a friend and he's, like a founder himself, and he told me that, I've realized working, I think it's been 5 years for him in the industry, and he told me that, being a founder is a spiritual journey. Is what I've realized, that there was so much about life that I did not know, and there were situations even in personal life that I would approach very differently back in the day, but it sort of humbles you in a very different way.
100%. I'd reiterate the same thing. For sure. Again, I want to, like when we talk about this, sometimes I get too carried away in that whole philosophical thing. But so the day we celebrated our first year, and I was doing like this small thing with the team. We were just chatting, and I was saying this only. I was like, this whole journey, a lot of things that are out there, everybody knows.
Yeah.
But for me, it's been so spiritual. You learn so much about yourself.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because as a founder, you have no option but to accept those things.
Yeah.
So like, where are you going to run? What are you going to hide? You know, while talking to investors, while talking to certain sets of, people, you can still cover a few things. But when you go back, you know that there are some serious weaknesses and some serious strengths.
Yeah. You know your truth.
Yeah. But again, I think that's so helpful. And because you learn that so fast, right? Like everything in this journey is very fast, by the way. Because you learn that so fast, you're able to act on it also. So I know what I'm weak at. And I have no shame in admitting it. And I'm very happy for someone else in the team to kind of do it. In fact, I might be going a little bit off tangent, but this also became a big part of my hiring framework. So it wasn't just, so you'll find like, let's say, many good CVs for whatever position you're hiring, right? And like, let's say you've chosen 3 amazing CVs. Eventually what it'll come down to is also, who do you think complements you the best? Not just this person is great at what they do. They may be great, but their personality type should also complement you.
Fair point.
So when we'd hired our brand head, Aditi, I had said that, look, I'm a Marwadi business guy. I will want to do things that may not be on brand sometimes, and I just like to move.
Right.
But you have the veto to say, Nikunj, this idea of yours sucks. Just no, we will not do this. You have the ability and the responsibility to say, this creative, this font, this comma is in the wrong place. We will not go ahead with this. And I think that really helps. Because I know it's very important and I know I won't be able to do it. It's just not, it doesn't come to me naturally.
Yeah. I think hiring is such a, I won't say it's underrated, because people who are building anything, understand the magnitude of hiring right. And I think I heard somebody say this in an interview once, that there are certain decisions that you take in life that have unimaginable returns. For example, as a founder, people might ask you a lot about operations and product and transparency, but very seldom would you get questions about, but okay, what is your mindset in hiring the right kind of people? What do you look for? In the end, what is the deciding factor, which you already shared with us?
Yeah. No, but I have many, so I'll just share one more thing. I think people make a company, right? And people also are able to create momentum. And momentum is very underrated. So my view earlier was a little bit narrow, where I would be, let's say, very, very conscious of a cost. And I think that, okay, no, this person I need to hire in only this bracket. And then I realized that you can't look at cost purely from a P&L perspective while hiring. Because sometimes the person that comes in may be able to solve things in your company that help you create so much more momentum, right? That you can't even, it's invaluable.
Yeah.
So how do you even attribute a return to that?
Yeah.
Right? And good people know they're good. And you have to pay top dollar for good people because they deserve it, not for any other reason.
Yeah.
And I think if you are able to identify that, especially in early stages, and sometimes take that bet on people, like people are the best thing to bet on while building your company after product.
Yes.
Right? Because you may pay someone, like let's say you wanted to hire someone for 20 lakhs, but now you've hired an operations person for 30 lakhs. This 30 lakhs person could have come in, made a certain decision on how you want to follow FIFO in warehousing. That could have saved so much money in, let's say, dead inventory. Now, maybe this person I'm just simplifying it as for the sake of an example, but that is invaluable.
Yeah.
You save so much inventory, you use that inventory to sell, the stock turns, you create momentum.
Yeah.
Now that may or may not happen if you're just consciously like always obsessing over, no, I can't go over this cost.
True. Okay, tell me, as a founder, what is your USP?
I'm paranoid.
Nice. So,
I'm always on it. Again, okay, so I don't know. I don't know what my USP is.
which part of the process do you enjoy pitching in the most?
So product is something that I hold very close.
Okay.
Very, very close. And I'm involved in that. Even on things like content and so on and so forth now. But again, I think one of my strengths is I don't mind getting out of the way completely once this team member has earned trust.
Fair.
So
You don't micromanage
very
to the team.
yes. So very often, like someone could take a certain decision. I may not agree with it fully, but like if I've entrusted that person, then we'll go with it, and then we'll learn. Because there's also the other side of it, which is why should I think I know everything? How would I know everything?
Yeah.
And if I think I know everything, then I'm really dumb.
Yeah.
And then I'm hiring for what then?
Yeah.
So again, my uncle told me this once. He said the only criteria you should have for hiring people is hire people who are smarter than you. And then admit it. So if you know they're smarter than you, then let them do their thing.
Yeah.
Get out of their way. So I think that's one thing I do decently well, and I'm saying that's my USP because I think a lot of people struggle with doing that because you also feel so passionate and you feel so like,
Oh, absolutely.
it's my baby and I know
Yes.
everything, but sometimes it helps to kind of
Yeah. I mean, some of the founders that I've sat with, they've, outrightly mentioned that just to delegate was such a physically painful process for them because they just felt like, listen, this is my product. I know it the best.
Yeah.
How can I let anybody else come in? And, it's almost like letting the reins go. But you
Yeah.
have to eventually learn that because you have to pick something else,
Yeah.
and then you're on a journey in itself. But this philosophy of picking the right people, was it also true when you zeroed in on Ranveer Singh then?
I mean, I don't know if there was philosophy.
Were there other
because
contenders
No,
like
no,
in
no,
your
no,
head?
no.
No, it was just him.
So, by the way, I discussed this idea with Ranveer before I discussed it with my wife or with
Yeah?
my parents or with anyone.
Wow.
Like, ever since I thought of the idea, I knew that there's no one better than him who would represent what I had in my mind. And then obviously that idea shaped up and stuff. And then, of course, because I was acquainted with him,
Yeah.
it kind of just made a lot of sense
Yeah.
as well. But the fact that I didn't want to do this in a classical contractual relationship and so on and so forth, this enabled that. So yeah, I never thought that I'll do this with someone else, and I was just like, oh, I get to do this with Ranveer, and how crazy would that opportunity be? So that was the only thinking. at
Nice.
that
So,
time.
are there perks of working with somebody like a Ranveer Singh, and are there roadblocks?
So the perks, okay, there are many perks. So one is, I think we get to see the other side of him,
Okay.
which is
Explain.
obviously most of the world has seen one side of him, which is that he's this insanely talented
Entertaining personality.
actor slash superstar,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
But like they've seen him just at peak raw talent.
Yeah.
And then in his public appearances as this extremely high energy person.
Yeah.
But we also get to see the other side where he is so detail oriented about everything,
Okay.
where he's so thoughtful about anything that goes out. Like, I don't want to say everything is planned because I think that again sounds negative, but he's very well aware.
Okay. Or what's happening?
Yeah, of what's happening and of anything that he's doing. So it's incredible to see that side. And he's very... So, there's this one thing about him that everyone's obviously seen that, yeah, extremely high energy guy. And he is like that, by the way, like all the time, whenever you meet him. But he's also this other kind of guy who's very goes very deep into everything. He'll want to know the smallest of details because he needs to absorb that, and then he absorbs everything, puts that in his creative, and activates his creative muscle, and then comes out like these sharp insights that I can talk about in all the content that we do. So it's also someone who's very like thoughtful with these things, and we get to see that side that not many people get to.
It's so refreshing to know that he's also so hands-on, in a very hands-on manner, involved in the entire process.
Yeah.
So does he take more of an interest in the content and the marketing and the branding, or the product side, or the distribution, or?
Yeah. So when we started, and again I think it's just so lucky that I had a certain acquaintance with him. So he told me, Nikunj, you understand, like your background has been business and operations and product and this and that, and I trust you fully with it. And I understand content and how to land a certain narrative, a certain story, because that's been my background.
Correct.
And you trust me with it. And as long as that's there, we have nothing to worry about, right? So he's never gotten involved in things that he would not have valuable input into, like let's say supply chain, right? And I think that's been, and he was clear with this from the get-go, which was great. But he's been a part of everything.
Okay.
So he's known everything that's going on, whether that's the first name, that, the whole process of arriving at a name, the whole process of arriving at the logo,
Right.
the process of the first brand film. I'll give you 1-2 stories. The first brand film that we did, actually I have 2 fun ones.
Okay.
Literally, frame by frame, he has taken screenshots and given feedback himself
No way.
on every single frame, that this shot can be better, this can be better, can we do this here, can we alternate with this. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but he has, I don't know what kind of memory he has.
Photogenic memory.
He'll remember something from 20 years ago about you that you did not know.
Wow.
Right? And like, it's scary. And again, everyone who's interacted with him is just like, bro,
Amazed.
what is this? So he has this crazy memory. So he will remember that, oh, listen, this was there in that shot, and I have this thing. So why don't we use this, and maybe it will add more character to this one frame, which is, I don't know, like 0.2 seconds or something in the video. But he's extremely detail oriented like this. So, that was his level of involvement, just as a parallel. The second thing was the song that we had. It was this nice and peppy song. And then there was this part that just goes pa, 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 and then something. And I think one day we just get this voice note from him, and he says, and he's giving his feedback, and he's saying, listen, in the song, why does it go pa, pa, pa? Why can't it be super you? And he was like, we should add that. And obviously all of this happens very last minute, so it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
I can only imagine the nightmare that people would feel.
Everyone has to move fast. But he came up with that one idea that, hey, listen, in this beat, why are we leaving the beat? Just make it super you. And we did that. And that became a thing that people just caught on. It got stuck in people's heads.
Yeah, like a jingle almost.
Correct.
Yeah.
So nobody could see it. He obviously, again, the creative muscle saw it, and it just happened. So yeah, he's like super involved and very like creative in these small ways, but impactful ways.
It's quite impressive. And actually, you were right. This is a side that probably nobody knows of him, right? Because we're only exposed to a little part of who Ranveer Singh is. But very interesting. Do you guys have the power to veto each other's decision in this relationship?
Yes.
Have you used it?
I don't think we've had to.
Okay.
Because again, this might sound like I'm trying to say the right things, but I promise you I'm not. He's very... He listens a lot.
Okay.
So he will give you a chance to explain, time leke, कि you think this because of X, Y, Z. And he'll absorb all of it and then say, okay, look, but this is what I think and this is what I feel. Now let's together see what's best for whatever we are trying to achieve. So he's not got that whole thing of I'm saying this and we should do this. And look, when he comes with strong conviction in something that is his strength, I would be stupid to even try to veto it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Like, who am I firstly to do that, and why would I do that? He gets this thing unbelievably well.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's ever been a situation like that. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there has, and there really hasn't.
Nice. Have you watched Dhurandar?
I mean, first day, first show, both movies.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
You liked it?
Loved. Again, man, at the risk of sounding biased, Dhurandar 2, The Revenge for me was the best film of all time. Like, I loved it. And I obviously enjoyed 1 as well.
Yeah.
But just 2 was, I don't know, man. I think the movie was something else.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm so impatient. I'm infamous for walking out of movies.
Okay.
So like with my friends and family, they're very okay with knowing that this guy will come and he'll leave in 20 minutes. I watch movies on Netflix and all, like a 2.5 hour movie in 1 hour 10 minutes or 1 hour.
Forwarding.
Because like all the B-rolls and all, I'm like, theek hai, pata hai. And I did not want to get out of the seat to even pee.
Oh my god, and it's a
for
4
the
hour
revenge.
long movie. Yeah.
Like I was like, I will not blink also.
Wow.
So we were so excited, and for me the movie was. And a lot of I've heard some people saying they thought 1 was better than 2. But I was just like, come on, you've got to be crazy, man. Like, 2 was just something else. And look at him.
Yeah. He stole the show.
Like, it's
that one shot where he's walking and he's almost tripping.
Yeah.
I think he stole the show.
It's insane. Like, everything. Because you saw the full range with him, man.
Yeah.
Like, just going crazy. Action. Violence, crying, breaking down, like the whole thing. So I think I can say this. I don't think he'd mind it. But we were chatting with him once and we said, look, I don't know, like, do you think you'll ever do something that can be as demanding as Khilji? And he was like, Nikunj, this character has been way more challenging for me. So he said, as an artist, it's taken so much more out of me, and I've had to go deep and give it like 110, 200, 300% because it's been very, very demanding. And obviously when you hear it you don't understand it, but when you see it you're like, dude, what was this? Like, what was this?
But I'm surprised you went first day, first show, because, with your proximity, you should have been invited to a little, like before anybody gets to watch it come.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I got to see it in all its glory. And the first one, actually, the full SuperYou team went.
Yeah,
we were doing our first in-cinema advertising for Dhurandar. Obviously, it made sense.
Yes.
So the whole team went. We went IMAX, some like 50, 60 of us. I took some friends and family, like a whole bunch of us went. And I wanted to watch it with everyone because like that would just be so much fun. Ranveer would have joined, but he couldn't on that day. Obviously, he was caught up with many things. And then that movie blew up, and then it was like, okay, now expectations are so high. And on top of that, you want to do like a 4-hour movie.
It was insane.
I mean, so obviously, like, I'd message him saying like, I don't know what to say, man. Like, nobody can say anything except for the fact that he's proven he's the GOAT.
Yes.
Like, it's not, you can't even discuss it. It's not an opinion anymore, right? Like, it's factual.
Like, how do you even deny it?
Yeah, it's a fact. Like, he's insane. There's no debating it. But also credit to like everyone else on that film, man. Like Aditya Dhar, to be able to do all of that.
I think what he pulled off with the cast that he pulled off, and
every
with the cinematic
actor was insane. Like everyone, I think it's so crazy when you see. Oh, by the way, I have a fun story to say on this. Dhurandar is one of the least marketed movies. Like, if you saw their marketing game, for one, I'm saying before it released, you would probably wonder what the hell is going on, because it was so, like, the marketing was so little. And I remember when I met Ranveer, I was like, dude, the marketing was nothing, but it just shows that a great product can do anything. Even without marketing.
It spoke
you
for itself.
Put an insane product out there with all the headwinds that it had, with long going to a cinema, etc., etc.
Yes.
They smashed it all.
And I think the success of the part 1 became the marketing for part 2.
Yeah, obviously, like part 2 then came with that, but it came with expectations, and with any sequel that will always happen if the first one's so good. But again, even with part 2, they didn't advertise it. A lot of people would say, advertise it even more.
Yes.
Double down because it will get a good opening.
Yes.
They didn't advertise it. The amount of confidence in the fact that their product was so strong.
Yeah.
Like so strong.
Yes.
It just meant they needed nothing, and then it was just organic. It was just all word of mouth.
I mean, and I remember the memes that, started coming about for the part 2, that people are going, like, mums are sending off their children with backpacks that, you're going for a, sleepover or something, because 4-hour movie, 5 hours with, intervals and everything. People are going at night, coming back in the morning. I think it was insane, and people still went.
Yeah.
Like, all of my team went first day, first show. Also because they had to review it and everything. But, everybody was just counting down days and everybody sat together and spoke about it. But did SuperYou see, like, a change in response post the success of Dhurandar?
So not like direct correlated.
Okay.
It's not like movie released and sales went up. Nothing like that. But it obviously helps, just like long-term brand association, searches, things like that. I think that it helps in, like, overall, like I said, brand association, but it's not got a direct link to revenue or anything like that. Like,
Very interesting. I think all of this has been such a fascinating thing. But, like back early into the conversation, we were talking about Nikhil, Kamath, and I will sort of, go back to that. So, Rain Matter invested in your company. Getting that meeting, getting them to feel, getting their conviction into the product, was that easy? Was that something that they already believed in? Because I know the narrative that was shaping up all of this was that India is anyway protein deficient, right? And they are known to sort of pick up certain causes which are quite relevant today. So how did that come about? Were there challenges?
So we were speaking to quite a few VCs. And, like most VCs, I don't know how much I should be saying, but like ghumao you a lot. Like 100 million questions and this and that.
Yeah. Too many rounds, too many conversations.
करते ही रहते हैं बात, मतलब चलते रहता है. And it's actually a very draining exercise. I think something needs to happen about that, but I won't go off topic.
Yeah.
And then we spoke to Rain Matter and we spoke to Nikhil, Nitin. And it's crazy how that worked. So they had a larger thesis on the category.
Right.
On health, better for you, etc. So checkpoint 1 was it fits broadly into that. And then second, they just wanted to know, okay, what is it that you're trying to do? I remember there was this one line that basically said, we're not trying to be protein only for the gym bros. We're not trying to be only this like classic protein bar because that's a tiny market. But we want to be able to compete in chocolates, chips and biscuits and hence compete in a much larger pie with a much larger TAM. And I think after that, they didn't have any other questions. So they just few things that they wanted to know about me as a founder, background, so on and so forth. So we spoke on like a Thursday. On Monday they got samples. On Tuesday we did the deal.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, that's it.
In less than a week?
3 days.
Wow.
Friday we spoke. Saturday, Sunday, product reached because they're in Bangalore. Monday they tried the product. Tuesday morning we spoke, negotiated till the afternoon, and in the afternoon by 4 p.m. we closed.
That is insane.
It was insane.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. Very refreshing. And, they have their own advantages. But also just Nikhil, Nitin, and the team now, they've just been a breeze. Like, I keep saying this thing to some people who ask me, like, what's it like to have them as investors? Because everyone asks, like, how's this investor and that. I said, it's very funny because all they ask me is how my personal health is. They don't ask only ki kya ho raha hai business mein, what's happening, what's not. Like that's all secondary. They've just backed you. They have a long view of this. And they're just like, okay, you tell us, can we help? Do you need anything from us?
You do you.
Yeah. But they're not getting into the business and saying, hey, can you reduce your CAC? Nothing like that. So it's been a breeze.
You're actually the second person who said this. A while ago, I was sitting with the founder of Fitter. His name is JC.
JC.
So I was sitting with JC and I was asking him, of course, that, so my question to him was that what's the difference in a personality between a Nikhil Kamath and a Nitin Kamath? And he was very happy to answer it because there was quite, a difference between both of them. And then he mentioned that, the best part about them is that whenever Nitin messages me, he will always ask me that, you want to do a session tomorrow morning and you want to go and play here and you want to do this there. And we never talk about business, and that entire 1 or 2 hours that we're training together, he will not even bring up anything about the business. And that is just how easygoing they are. That they believe you. They'll know that you'll do the right thing. If you need me, they're there.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Yeah. And also, by the way, I don't know if he mentioned this. They respond in a minute.
Really?
Always.
Wow. One would assume that they'll respond in 2 business days or something.
Yeah, I was just like, dude, they always respond in a minute.
Wow.
Like for anything and everything. And Nitin is a man of few words.
Yeah.
So he'll just send like an emoji or something like that. But yeah, like they respond very quickly. It's crazy. And they're just the nicest people to speak to.
Are there things that you've picked up from them, working with them in close quarters? Or?
So I don't know if I've gotten to spend a lot of time with them. But I think like subconsciously I've picked up a lot. So when I met Nitin once for dinner. And the only question I had, because I'd spoken to a lot of people in their team. And the only question I had for him is, everyone in the Rain Matter ecosystem and in their broader Zerodha ecosystem that I've always spoken to, my observation was, they're always smiling. And I was like, dude, how do you do this? Like, I want a team like that. Like, I want to be able to build a team like that. They're always smiling. Now, they don't seem to get too upar niche. None
very
of
stable.
that. They're very stable. They're just like, And I was like, you have to tell me how you've done this. And then obviously, like, they have certain principles on culture, on how they approach business. And even for them, it's a little bit of this Dhurandar story, right? No marketing only.
Yeah, nothing.
Just great product.
Yes.
And obviously right timing and all of those things. But they had so much faith in the product that they were like, no, and competition is putting in money. So on that front, I think I've learned a lot. But I haven't gotten a chance to spend like deep time with them yet. So Nikhil, on the other hand, is like, he's very playful in that sense. So within the family, he knows that, classic Marwadi family, there's that little distance with my uncle. Aankhon ki sharam.
Yeah.
So we don't talk about everything so openly and all of that. And Nikhil will always ask when we're together saying, what's your sin? Every human being has a sin. You must have something. Is it alcohol? Is it smoking? He'll put me on the spot. When me and Vishwani are there, Vishwani is my wife. Be like, why do you love her? Why does she love you? Why are you married? What's one thing you don't like about her when she's sitting here? So he loves like that. And I was telling you, Nitin is like an absolute beast. So I got to see that when we did HYROX. I did doubles my first time and we did 127 and I was like very happy with that time because I was better than the target. And then he did a few seconds faster than us. The only difference was he did solo and he was hungover, but he still did that time. And there was this one time when Rain Matter had organized this event where they called all the founders from their portfolio companies. And obviously at the end of this one session in the morning, after a workout, they wanted to do a push-up contest.
Okay.
So everyone started. I think, and I hope I'm not getting this wrong, Nitin must have done north of 150 push-ups in that one go.
Oh my God.
And he was the last man standing. So everyone was doing push-ups. We were doing it in a big circle.
Yeah.
So people just kept falling. And he just kept going.
That is incredible.
It's insane. And by the way, his wife is also insanely competitive. So whenever the workouts were tapering, she'd be like, no, let's do something harder. And everyone's like, dude, we're barely making it alive from this workout. So, but yeah, they're the best.
What was your number?
I have done 50 push-ups at a go. I think I can do slightly more. But yeah, not Nitin Kamath level. He's another level altogether.
And to imagine doing some of this hungover, I mean, we can barely walk
And he's
up to the
insanely
washroom.
consistent, by the way. Like, no matter what happens, the sun could stop shining, he'll do his workout.
Damn.
And he'll eat his protein. I've seen that once. We had gone for dinner and he was like, okay, everything that has protein, he'll eat happily.
Nice.
It's very funny, but yeah.
Does he also have a favorite flavor? Because, funnily, I tried cheese flavor only after I saw this reel of Nikhil Kamath saying that, my favorite flavor is cheese. And I was still figuring out that, listen, how can cheese be turned into a wafer? And how can it, taste good? And how can a Nikhil Kamath say that it tastes good? But then it did. And
so Nikhil's favorite switch now to the mega wafer. And Nitin, I think, really likes the chips, if I'm not wrong. I don't know if I'm making this up. I'm trying to recall. But yeah, I think he really likes the chips and the powder.
Nice. How much of your own product do you consume on a daily basis?
So the protein every day, 7 days a week. Sometimes 2 scoops a day.
Okay.
Creatine, now my own
that
product.
you've launched.
Every single day. I think like all the snacking products, there's no like fixed routine, but whenever you're feeling snacky, I love the chips, one flavor. And the bars, I also now my personal favorite has become the mega, the 20 gram protein. But like there's moments when I prefer the minis and then there's moments when I like the OG. But yeah, that is just mood based.
Okay. So if let's suppose there's an 18-year-old boy, okay, he's hitting the gym, let's say 2 to 3 times in a week.
Yeah.
That is his schedule. What would you say that, how many SuperYous is he allowed or would be ideal for him to consume through the week? If you have to plot it.
Which product?
Let's say the protein wafer bar.
You can have like, we say you should not consume more than 1 to 2 a day.
Okay.
And the simple reason for that is that don't think of it as a source of protein, right? It's a snack. It's designed to be a snack. It's a better snack than many others. And I think this is true for all protein bars, not just SuperYou, right? So I would say any protein bar you're consuming, consume 1 to 2 max a day. Don't rely on them as a source of protein. Whole foods still need to be the best source of protein and supplement in that sense because it's a concentrated source. So if you just want to get your macros, then that's the best source from a purely protein, getting in protein perspective.
Yeah.
So bars, I would say that. Chips, again, I'd say 1 to 2, but like maybe just 1. Again, ingredients are the best and also it's not because of that, but just like why eat too much as well, right?
Fair.
At the end of the day, whole foods is the best that you can get.
Yes.
The powder, I would say, again, once a day. But if you, let's say, are training for something specific, you need to get a very, very high protein goal per day, then you can take 2 scoops a day as well. But you shouldn't do that just, like, don't take 2 scoops a day and say, okay, now I've met 50 grams, now everything else I eat can be rubbish. Like, I don't think that's smart.
Yeah.
But if you need to get to whatever, like 120, 130 grams a day, then sometimes taking 2 scoops makes life easier. So you can easily consume that. And creatine, you should take minimum 1 scoop a day.
I think creatine is also picking up. For example, there's, there's been this dominant protein narrative that has taken over all of India for that matter, right? Like there are protein parties, protein lassi, protein, everything is happening. So I think the next in line would be creatine. And it's also the most researched supplement.
It's the most researched. Okay, so I'll tell you something about supplements. Most supplements in the world end up at like this 50-50, 60-40 kind of space with people who vouch for it and people who have something to say against it. So collagen, for example, a lot of people say it's great. A lot of people say it does nothing.
Yeah.
And the list can go on.
Yeah.
Creatine is one where I've seen 100 to 0 or let's say 99 to 1.
Yeah.
When 99% of the people say it is great, there is no question, you must consume it. Because the amount of benefits it's got are just insane, right? And it's the most researched, safest, all of that stuff that's been said, extremely effective. You start feeling results in 2 to 3 weeks. Very affordable. And you need to, it's easy to consume. You need to consume just a little amount.
Right.
So I don't know if it's going to get that wave yet. Obviously I want it to, and I believe it will, and that's why we've also, that's why we're participating in the market. But I also think that there's just too much misinformation still in India about it, which will take time, and it will change, but it'll take some time. Like, people think SuperYou's become a gym bro brand because we launched Creatine. And I get it. Like, I get why people would think that. But it's the exact opposite. Like, creatine is the most lifestyle supplement one can take.
Yes.
So I think when people see that and, it gets clearer, it will happen. It's, I keep saying it's what protein was like 10 years ago. Fully misunderstood.
Agreed.
But the change with this will happen even faster.
Yeah. Misunderstood and neglected for that matter.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was sitting with this, fitness health expert and trainer, and I was talking to him about my own routine and, what I do and what I've started taking recently. And then he was telling me that, if you're doing this, then, maybe you should add a creatine, and maybe you already do. And I was just nodding and listening to him. And he said, looking at you, I can just say that you don't take creatine. I said, no. He's like, okay, where's the hesitation? I said, there's no hesitation, but there's no strong, voice in my head also that has led me to this path that, for example, hitting the gym, I knew within a month or two, I will have to start taking protein. Why? Don't know. It's just been fed to me. Like whatever, in a very socio whatever way. But creatine, for that matter, it didn't. And that conversation made me wonder, made me go back, talk to my brother who's been in fitness for a while, research, and then I felt like, okay, this is something which is right out there. People are not saying anything negative about it yet. But why was, probably it's this that you.
So by the way, I put my mom on creatine.
Yeah.
She's turning 60 this year. My dad's on creatine, my wife's on creatine, my sister's on creatine.
Wow.
And all of them have felt a lot of benefit. They've done it because they're just taking my word for it, right? But they've now come back and said, shit, we should have listened sooner.
Yeah.
Because, you just, and when you feel it, you'll know. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
So you just have to take that one leap of faith, try it. And also look, at the end of the day, I like saying one thing, don't stress about any of this. Mat lena hai, mat lo. It's okay. Just don't stress about it no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Because there's so much fear about these things that the stress from it is more detrimental than taking or not taking it.
Fair.
Right? So if you don't want to take creatine also, chill, it's fine. Don't.
Yeah.
You want to try it once for 4 weeks, it works for you, great. Doesn't work for you,
Then
also okay. Don't.
Yeah.
It's not something that's going to be permanent in nature anyway, right?
Yeah.
So it's fine. And at least that's the narrative I want to keep, because otherwise there's just too many people saying low.
Yeah, and then it becomes
puts too much
almost
pressure.
forcing down the throat. But this is a nice perspective. We're talking about stress. You're a founder, right? You're also a paranoid person, like you've said. So what is your resting heart rate like? What is the resting heart rate of a startup founder?
I don't measure. So if you see, I went nothing.
No whoop, no nothing for you.
Nothing. I don't do it because I can get obsessive about it. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. The moment I do it, I'll start optimizing this, that, malab. Right now, I have blinders on, SuperYou, that's it. Nothing else. But to answer your question, I'm assuming that is how do I manage stress?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't.
You don't manage stress?
No, I'm not good at it. I more often than not, I let it get the better of me. The best of me, whatever. And I'm learning and I'm getting incrementally better, but I'm not fully there yet. I do get worked up about a lot of things, and then I'll obsess over it, and then I'll spend day and night thinking about it till I think I found an answer in my head. And then I get extremely excited about that answer and then go to office saying, oh, I found it, we have to do this now and this is the answer. And then go through that high and then again, keep doing that. So I don't have a great answer to this. The one thing that helps me though is actually two things. Is one, sports. So for me, good day, bad day, anything and everything goes there. So my energy gets channeled best through sports. And the second thing is, I don't have kids of my own, but a lot of friends and family have kids, so I end up spending a lot of time with them.
Oh.
And it's a lot of fun because so my wife says this about me. I get along with kids very, very well, and she says it's because you are like them. So they just think you are one of them. And I was like,
just a taller version.
Yeah, I guess. But I love that. Like it's one of those where you just chill out and you don't. But sports and this to some extent. And I should mention this. I take therapy not as consistently. So I should do it more consistently, I think, because of that only it's maybe not helping. But I do believe it helps, but I've not been very consistent with it. So only when shit hits the roof, I'm like,
then you feel like,
I
okay,
call
book a
up and I'm
session.
like, I need to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that I'm talking about it, I think I should get a little bit more.
No, I can only imagine the roller coaster ride of emotions that you sit on every single day and, you're going through. But, because you mentioned kids and you mentioned that your wife said you're much like them. I think at some level, all founders can relate to kids because it's the perfect example of first principle thinking, right? And every founder I've met has always, quoted this, that, I go for first principle thinking and think out of the box. And kids are just like that. Very randomly, they'll say anything and you'll be like, oh, wow.
I would see why people say it because I think it sounds great to say, but I don't know if I fully align with that. I just really love the energy and like I get to be a little bit childish and just be silly, say what I want, do what I want. Like it's just, it's one of those, you switch off to a large extent.
You zone out for a bit.
Yeah. And actually just to answer that, sometimes I've seen that when I just throw myself into doing something, it kind of levels out itself. Versus if I'm sitting at home and let's say after the meal, I'm just sitting and, thinking about everything.
Right.
That doesn't help at all. It's like when I'm thinking, okay, this is the problem, now what can be the answer? And then I'm in office and I'm discussing it, debating it with someone, etc. Then some answer comes out and then I feel calm
better about it
to an extent.
Yeah, fair enough. There's a question that comes straight from one of my interns, and he said that, you're going to meet Nikunj Biyani. Can you just ask him if he's planning to launch merchandise? Because, I love the tanks in which Ranveer Singh is, being displayed in the ads and everything, and it looks so cool. But, I tried looking for it and I couldn't find it.
We're very tempted.
Yeah?
Yeah, very tempted. But I'll tell you again, from a business perspective, like we'd set like these, what are they called?
Benchmarks.
Frameworks, guiding principles. And one of them is simplicity. So if it's not core to the business, at some point it becomes a distraction. Right now, we're not equipped to handle a distraction.
Yeah.
It's still, I don't want to say lean, but like it's still a relatively lean team. And we're very focused on what we need to do. And all of that is what is core to our consumer and what we're promising to the consumer. A cool t-shirt is not part of that, right? So I get that, like, does it make you feel cool as a brand and stuff? So maybe, but we're not selling. We've given out free stuff sometimes at exhibitions and things like that. So some people have gotten their hands on it, but we're not selling it. We did something with like shakers and things like that, but that's because it's a part of the experience of the product. But anything that's non-core, we don't want to get into at all. It's very tempting, but we want to stay away.
But that is such an honest answer. I honestly wasn't expecting something like this. I was hoping that, you'd answer along the lines that, in the list of our product range, this comes much later, maybe one day. But this was quite an honest answer. I'm quite impressed.
Yeah, we've thought about it. Very like close to saying, chalo
out
try kar
there,
lete
it's
hain.
like, yeah.
But no.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll get his hands on one of those hoodies or, goodies one day.
So the funny thing is, sometimes people ask me, why did HYROX? And I was like, because I just wanted a photo in HYROX wearing the SuperYou t-shirt. That's the only reason I did it. Because I signed up in like 4 weeks with 4 weeks to go, which is silly.
Oh my God.
But I was like, nahin, wo t-shirt pen ke, I want a photo.
The level to which a founder thinks is insane. I mean, you have to be obsessed.
Yeah, this was a little childish if you ask me.
I
but
think
it's
it
okay.
landed.
Like once in a while, it's fine.
Yeah. I think it keeps the spark alive.
Yeah, for sure.
So 5 years down the line, okay, let me frame it in a very different way. What is your ambition with SuperYou? What do you see it becoming?
So there's a clearly stated financial ambition. Like at a company level, we want to be north of 1,000 crores with 15+% EBITDA. So those two things from a financial perspective.
Right.
and like do it with few categories and capital efficiency and some other boring metrics, but I'll save that. But you know, that's there. I think from like a business perspective, I try not to think too much about these things because it doesn't help. So I wanted to be a relevant brand that stands the test of time. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be loved by consumers. All of those things. But at some point, if I think we've been able to push the needle and the market to more innovative products so that consumers have more options at affordable prices, and then that trickles down and a lot of other people do it and a market gets created, I'd love to think that we've had a small role to play in that. So that would be pretty awesome. But otherwise, I try not thinking too much about it. Like, especially in a world like this, who knows 5 years what will happen?
People don't even know 5 months what's going to happen, whether to stock up or not right now. But yeah.
And also, we have a financial metric not because I obsess over it, but just because it's a guiding principle. Like, we're gonna run, so we know which direction we're running in.
Fair point.
And that's it. I don't think about it too often, and success for me will not be defined by if I reach 1,000 crores or if I don't. So yeah.
That's nice. And you just said that, you wanted your brand to be loved by consumers. I think it is also being loved by delivery partners because I, came across this interesting problem that you encountered where the delivery partners were eating your bars.
Yeah.
So what was your first reaction when you heard about it?
I think first I laughed only because someone else in the team was dealing with the problem. So I was like, I've been posting a lot on LinkedIn recently. I don't know if that time I thought, oh, this is great LinkedIn content. No. So my first reaction was, okay, one is we need to solve for it. And there was such a simple solution. We should have just thought of it sooner, which is that we just put like this simple wrap around it.
Yeah.
And earlier we were doing a sticker. So one was just, okay, let's solve it. But two was like, okay, you just don't know what to expect in business. Like such strange problems will come up and you think you've covered all your bases. But some surprise will always come up. So in our case, this was one. But I'm glad it did.
Another what the fuck moment where you like, okay, this is
you
a
can
problem
cuss on
I
this?
did not even know. Yeah.
Oh, I've
Young
been holding
audience,
back. I've been trying to sound correct. Yeah. No, so I mean, look, again, from a business perspective, there's been lots, like very unexpected kind of problems, but not funny enough to say.
Okay.
Very boring. Yeah, like really boring
Nothing
stuff.
that made it to the dinner table.
Yeah, like FIFO.
Although I don't know how the Biyani's dinner table is like, maybe you guys do talk about numbers.
Can I tell you what it is?
Yeah.
You're right, we talk a lot about numbers. Okay. We have this classical problem of being a proper Marwadi family where forget our dinner table, any restaurant we go to, so we'll go to a restaurant and we'll say, okay, how many seats do you think there are? And they must be operating at a 80% efficiency on weekends, 60% on weekdays, this into the AOV of the product, this much business they do, this much rent they make, this is their PNL. I don't know why, it's a compulsive problem and it does not stop at restaurants. It goes into, you sit on a plane and they'll say, okay, 180 seats, 180 into 10,000. So that means 1.8, like whatever, this is, and we'll just keep doing this. And I don't know why, like ye picture, kitne log dekhe, kitna business hua, kitne ticket biki, but no, they've done well because of the average ticket price going up, and how much money does a theatre make through popcorn versus through ticket. It's always
insane.
Yeah, for some reason, I mean, obviously there's conversations that go beyond this, but this happens a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot. It's quite hilarious.
Yeah, I can only imagine. But good to know, because I think I don't think you guys would feel bored out of it either.
No.
You would enjoy it.
Not at all. I think some, like Vishwani comes from a different perspective, and she's like she's been an entrepreneur as well, she's run her own restaurant as well, and she's like, do not involve me in this. I don't care. The food was great, the experience was great, and she'll look at like the smaller details. So she'll be like, okay, all of those things were great.
Yeah.
Happy, just enjoy and get out, man. You don't need to break up everything, but it's just one of those things.
Both of you have very different energy.
Yes, for sure.
Since your parents are not in the room, so, like, how did you guys meet?
Oh no, that my parents were that not that traditional.
Okay.
Vishwani and I met in London.
Okay.
When
you were
through
studying.
common friends.
Oh.
Dated, and then eventually got married in peak COVID, June 2020.
Wow.
So like I flew to Delhi. This was the point where everyone thought that if you get into a plane, it means you'll get COVID.
Yeah.
And where we came back, and we were silly / obedient because we spent 14 days not getting out of the house.
Wow.
Which was crazy. Now to think of it, it feels crazy. 14 days is a lot, man.
But at that time, it was what it was, right?
It was what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how we met.
Fair enough. So in COVID, you got married because you guys were missing each other too much. You wanted to spend all that time together, or it was a perfect way to not have to invite 2,000 people. Yeah.
Because we were going to. So we'd started planning. We'd almost booked things, and it was going to be the classical, traditional 2,000 people reception.
Wow.
And both Vishwani and I hate that kind of stuff.
So Piyush Goyal was speaking somewhere, and he urged a lot of startup founders within India to go and to move beyond just quick commerce and consumer products and food related products. And what he said was basically that people are making healthier ice cream, but there are people sitting in China and they're working on tech and AI, and he was urging a lot of young Indian startup founders to also think in that direction and not just stay limited to this. So as a young Indian startup founder in this space, very relevant to this entire example that I've quoted, what is your take on something like that?
Look, I think entrepreneurship is a feeling that needs to cut across every category, right?
Yeah.
I've not heard what he said, so I don't know what context it was said in. Of course, we need to do so much more with tech, and there's so much potential.
Yeah.
We have great talent. We have everything.
Yeah.
There's people investing in the ecosystem now, in infrastructure now. Yeah. So there's a lot. So yes, a lot of young people should do that, but that does not mean that you should not do anything else. So I don't think it's a this or that. I think it's a this and that. So maybe there's less action happening there, and maybe that's why we feel the need to do more. But I mean, that should not mean someone should not make healthy ice cream.
No, absolutely. I think, yeah.
Because I think, again, it's that spirit that then cuts across everything and helps the overall ecosystem grow.
Yeah.
So yeah, by all means, I feel we should have more people doing everything.
Yeah. There is
and I do see that it's happening.
Yeah.
Incrementally, maybe.
I think a lot of startup founders are especially, growing in this space, especially in Bangalore. And even the attempts with Aratai and, Zoho for that matter, I think there is work happening, but it will take some time because more and more people need to adopt first the philosophy and then the actual thing out there. But yeah, I think there is scope.
Yeah, we're definitely moving in that direction.
It was an absolute treat talking to you, Nikunj, today. Thank you so much.
Likewise.
And, whenever we end this podcast, we ask our guest to give sort of one piece of advice that they would like to give to the young people who are watching this. So, any 18-year-old who's watching this, who feels a little lost in life or who wants to figure it out or wants to build a cool-ass brand like you have with SuperYou.
My only advice would be take anyone's advice with a pinch of salt because advice is very overrated. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that, because a lot of people give advice basis their individual experiences, and no individual experience proves to be a formula for success. So there's many paths to it. You have to figure out what works best for you. So I would say listen, observe, but also don't try to emulate. Not, the classical thing, I don't know if you've heard this, but young founders seen Steve Jobs and then want to go into the office and fire everyone.
Yes.
And they forget that they don't have the credibility or the talent that he had to be able to do that and still get people to work.
Yeah.
So you can't do that. So don't do that. I, by the way, never mind. I won't say this. But no. I'm just saying I was obsessed with Steve Jobs at one point.
Yeah.
And I thought I have to do X, Y, Z because Steve Jobs did it. And then obviously you realize that you have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Because you may not be able to be that person and so on and so forth. So take advice on the internet with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
And just figure out what works best for you.
Fair enough. And on that note, thank you so much. It
Thank
was
you.
wonderful talking to you.
Likewise.
And I hope you guys also enjoy watching this episode. Let us know in the comment section below what your thoughts were about the conversation and probably which flavor of SuperYou is your personal favorite.
I thought you were talking to them first.
Oh, okay.
I was like, Bichara, they just been standing for so long.